Hello. A few things that have piqued my interest recently that I really feel like I should share so I can get some answers on this. I like educational TV very, very much. History Channel, Discovery Channel, Science Channel, National Geographic, all those pretty much the same channel kind of mashed together with different shows that are basically the same with different titles. Um, exactly why is it that there's this extreme tendency for all of these selling shows, Pawn Stars, the American Restoration, the new one, Sold? Why are all the main characters named Rick? Rick Harrison is the guy over at the pawn shop, if I'm not mistaken. Rick Dale, I think is his name, over at the restoration place. And then there's this other Rick guy whose last name I forget. I'm thinking, why are all these people named Rick? I mean, are these characters made up? It's kind of weird. Is there some executive son whose name's Rick who has low self worth and they want to have lots of people named Rick? It just seems really weird. In the retail industry, is there a large percentage of people named Rick? A little strange. Anyway, on a more business related note, those of you who know me may be aware of my selling of type, these little pieces here. Um, as always, my shameless self promotion, I'm going to post a link to my eBay page, and if any of you see anything you like, I strongly encourage you to bid because the money goes toward keeping my rent, and it also goes toward college tuition. So, um, I'm a graphic design major, as you can probably tell from my room. I'm the artsy-ish kind of type. I just put in an old drafting table, and it lasted probably about I'd say it lasted about 15 minutes before I started drawing on it. Anyway, so I'm an artsy kind of major. Graphic design is basically everything. The Apple logo, business cards, labels on things. I mean, designer probably designed this at some point too. Um, it's all over the place, which is one of the main reasons I chose it. It's pretty easy to find a job, and you can make a decent amount of money doing it. And it's also a hell of a lot of fun. I really do enjoy it. Um, and if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. It's not entirely true, but I do think that there's some reasonable evidence to suggest that that's accurate. So the type. I've been making my portfolio site, and I've actually been hand building my site. That should tell you something about my work ethic. It's pretty high up there. I'm hand building the site out of old type components. And then, of course, I have to flip the image so it reads properly because all the type is mirrored. So when it stamps, it will come out properly. Um, and I wanted to code the site in 3 different languages. Now, English and French were not too hard. I'm pretty well versed in French. I mean, I was much better back in high school, but I could still kind of navigate my way around. And I just thought maybe it'd be kind of cool thing to throw in there, have a couple different languages. Um, and then the other language I wanted to put it in is the language that I'm working on now, Chinese. Not easy. Um, I kind of like reading it. I find it a hell of a lot easier than speaking because I'm tone deaf, and those of you familiar with the language will know that tone is very important. It's unfortunate, but I'm starting to pick up what people say. So I'm learning a little bit. Anyway, so I want to code my site in Chinese as well. Now, to preserve this type layout is very difficult. Now, when you have a letter system that has over 5,000 different little individual units in it, movable type is just simply impractical. Because every time you want to replace the word, it's impractical. The amount of space required to do it is just prohibitively large. But that said, that doesn't mean that people didn't try. In fact, the Chinese are credited with coming up with. There goes one. Anyway, I have some of it. That's not 5,000 characters. It just simply isn't. It's 35. So I have a couple of them. Thought it was kind of cool, and so I had to use my Photoshop skills to simulate the look of the type. You know, something like this is not. It's out of focus. It's not particularly hard to simulate. Yeah, it's gonna be out of focus no matter what I do. Um, Not particularly hard to simulate. You know, I just got the backdrop of just English type and wiped out the letter, so I was left with something along the lines of this. And now that I think back to it, I could have just taken a picture of the back side, but it's already done, so, you know, learn for the future. And then I would type using the input system what I wanted to write down in Chinese, and then I would select an overlay of the lead texture, this shiny area that you see on the characters here. And then I dropped a shadow around the text, kind of faded it out a little bit to give it that illusion that, you know, when it kind of comes up to the character itself and then levels off. It's like a plateau, basically. If it's an easy way for you to picture it, you have the base here, and it kind of raises up to the plateau where it prints. So I've simulated that fairly effectively, I would say. And there might not be a lot of people that will ever read the site in Chinese. I have done a little bit of design work for people over in China. About a year ago, I did some magazine advertisements for some company based out of some city I can never remember the pronunciation of. They were supposed to send me the magazine, but never did. Whatever, you know. It was just a quick little project, anyways. So, not that anyone will probably ever view it, but I mean, I figured if I'm gonna pick languages that I might as well learn ones that are very, very commonly spoken. You know, so I mean, people say Spanish, but it's so concentrated in one area. I mean, one of my teachers told me in high school that French is still far more of an international language than Spanish is. More people speak Spanish, but it's in a much smaller area. So you do have to bear that in mind. And I also think it's just a prettier language. Sorry, I do. And then, of course, Chinese is a very commonly spoken language. And I do want to learn it. I'm progressing very slowly. My computer crashed, so I lost Rosetta Stone, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get that back. Called up the guys saying, you know, hey, Rosetta Stone crashed, you know, give me a new one. And they want me to pay $10 for it. I'm like, So, long story short, making the site. And I'm coding it as well. It's taking longer for me to code because I am not exactly a proficient coder. At the same time, I'm also making a site for my brother. He does sliding gloves for longboards. For those of you that aren't familiar, basically, in order to make a tighter turn, you put your hand out like this to, you know, switch your center of gravity, and you can kind of fishtail the back wheels across and make a tighter turn. I'm not super versed in the physics of it, but I've seen him do it, and it's pretty cool to watch. Basically, he makes the gloves for that much cheaper than people buy it for in stores, and that allows him to have an applicable business model with all of his friends. He would like to expand that because while he is very popular, he has a finite amount of friends to sell to, so he would like to expand his market. So that's where I came in. I gave him a brand name, and I also registered him a site, which I'm still trying to get worked out because it seems some sort of discrepancy. You see, there's a bill in my PayPal account, but the site does not currently exist, so I'm trying to figure that out. Anyway, that should be up soon as well. So when the portfolio site's up, I might throw up a link. Once my brother's site is up, I could throw a link to that too, just give some more advertisement. But in the meantime, the only link you'll be seeing is the link for me buying and selling the type. So if any of you have an interest in that, please do take a look at it. Or if you know someone that might have an interest in it, pass it along. I mean, come on, help me out here. Anyway, see ya.